Let us join our palms in the Anjali position and recite together. Homage to the fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Verses of opening of the Dharma. The unsurpassable, profound, and wondrous Dharma is difficult to encounter even in hundreds of millions of kalpas. Now I see it, hear it, receive it, and uphold it. I vow to understand the true meaning of the Tathagata. Namo Pho. Okay, so in our last lecture, number 10, we started explaining chapter 2 about hearing the Buddha Dharma. And we discussed the benefits of hearing the Dharma, the ways of hearing the Dharma, and the ways of contemplating in hearing the Dharma. Now we enter into the second part of chapter 2, entering the path. And today we are going to talk about the method, association with Kalyānamitras. Kalyānamitra is a word in Sanskrit which will be explained later. And this is something one of the few words in Sanskrit that I would like you to memorize. Stanza 20. Those interested in entering the correct dharma should approach good advisors who possess the virtues of realization, teaching, understanding of the true essence, compassion, and eloquence. Explanation. Although the correct Dharma can be understood from the sutras, the main way to comprehend it is still by hearing the teaching from Dharma masters. And they are the Dharma master in Chinese would be Fa Shi. And meditation teacher would be Chan Shi. And they are according to your main role as a Buddhist monk or nun, you'll be called such. Now, Dharma Master is not a title that we give ourselves. No. As far as from the transmission is concerned in the Sangha, for example, I was not called a Dharma Master until the day my own teacher, Venerable Renjun, he introduced me as Dharma Master Zhihan to the students, to the public. So it's almost like something that your own teacher, the title that he bestows on you, or that he grants you, that he feels that you're ready, then you can be called a Dharma Master. It's not a self-proclaimed title. I'm the Dharma Master. No. Basically, your own teacher, your guide, should give you that. Say that you're ready. The guidance of Dharma Masters, compared to self-study and recitation, is understood much more quickly and easily. Okay, so supposedly the Dharma Master, he himself started as a beginner, and then he deepened into his studies and then his knowledge so that he can be called a Dharma Master by his own teacher and then become your teacher. And it's much easier when you hear a teacher explain things, especially at the beginning, because they've been through what you're going through, so they know how to guide you, right? Now, if you just study from the internet, and then right now information is readily available, including starting in 2022, we have ChatGPT And then DeepSeek, Claude, Manus, Perplexity, Grok, all these AI learning tools, language models that can actually give you the knowledge, provide the knowledge. But how does a machine know that is the information is correct? No, the machine doesn't know. But a human being, a human practitioner of the Dharma would know or supposed to know. Yeah. So if you're learning the knowledge, the Dharma, the doctrines, maybe, okay, if you read enough, you can kind of make sense of things. But how about meditation? Learning meditation from YouTube. And for those of you who have done so, you know how that goes. You have no idea if you're doing it right or wrong because nobody's giving you instructions. You're just listening to and watching videos, right? You can ask questions. For this reason, those who are interested in entering the correct Dharma and advancing in the search for Buddhahood should approach good advisors, Kalyānamitras. Okay. Kalyānamitras are well-instructed people, virtuous friends, good advisors, all the above. You can translate it as all the above. It's not just own teacher and guide, and also it can include your Dharma friends, especially the Kalyānamitras of the Mahāyāna, meaning the good advisors that will point you in the way of the great vehicle, of the way of compassion for all beings, and on this way, on this path to Buddhahood. The Buddha said that approaching good advisors, frequently hearing the correct Dharma, reflecting on the teachings, and following the Dharma by practicing it correctly are the four great conditions, prerequisites necessary to enter the noble stream, the stream of the liberated, the liberation. And this highlights the importance of approaching Kalyānamitras. So these four prerequisites of entering the stream, achieving the first fruition in the case of Sravakayana, and then or achieving the first bhumi, first level in the Bodhisattva path. These four are very important, and you need to memorize it. Approaching good advisors. Number one, frequently hearing the correct Dharma, and reflecting on the teachings, and following the Dharma by practicing it correctly. How can someone be considered a Kalyanamitra? It is not by having many disciples, a large temple, a good appearance, nor by having much worldly knowledge that someone can be considered a Kalyanamitra. Okay, so it is not when you see a bunch of people, a lot of people, thousands of people listening to someone, and then you say, yeah, since so many people are listening to that person, that guru, then that person must be a good advisor, a Kalyanamitra. Or that person, wow, he is so handsome, she's so beautiful. I can't take my eyes off the person. And then you go, yeah, that must be a Kalyanamitra. No. And then even less so by having a lot of worldly knowledge. They know all about the world, about the mundane things. No. Then what are the so-called criteria? or qualities that they need to possess, or virtues. Here there are five. It lists us five. Number one, it is because such a person, okay, the virtue of realization, okay, they possess the virtue of realization, refers to the realization of the three graduated studies, which are the realization of the good, pure precepts, shila, realization of concentration, samadhi, and realization of contemplative wisdom, prajna. So it's discipline, concentration, and wisdom, because they possess levels of realization, such virtue. Second, the virtue of teaching. This refers to studying the Tripitaka deeply. Tripitaka referring to the sutra, instructions of the Buddha, shastras, the commentaries of the disciples, the treatises, and Vinaya, the book of discipline. Hearing extensively the Buddha Dharma, being able to teach and guide learners in advancing in the cultivation of the correct path of the Mahāyāna. So this is referring to someone who has a virtue of teaching, and which includes learning deeply, extensively, right? That would be the second virtue. Third, the virtue of understanding the true essence is another name for correct Dharma, true essence or correct Dharma, which can be understood through direct realization, wisdom, or through hearing and reflecting on the teachings. And then here is actually referring to the three, actually so-called three aspects of wisdom plus number four. So the three aspects of wisdom would be the wisdom of auditive, of hearing, the wisdom from reflection, second, the wisdom from practice, and all the three lead to the direct realization wisdom, right? So it's talking about the different levels of understanding the true essence, that virtue. Number four, if one possesses the virtue of compassion, so having a compassionate mind is not for gaining fame and offering, but to be able to teach the Dharma purely for the benefit of sentient beings. So that compassion, it is to expound the Dharma, to pass on the Buddha's teachings to all beings. That compassion. And last but not least, the virtue of eloquence. By achieving eloquence, a Kalyānamitra can use skillful means to teach the Dharma to beings, facilitating their understanding and obtaining benefits. Explaining something to workers, people who more into manual labor, they are able to use examples from the different trades and different jobs that people have. They can give examples using what an accountant can understand, what a doctor can understand, like basically skillful means based on their understanding, like uniting their knowledge of the world and making it easier, this bridge for us to understand the Dharma, right? So if someone, a perfect Kalyānamitra would be someone who possesses the virtue of realization, teaching, understanding the true essence, and then also compassion and eloquence, these five. So if one realizes these five virtues, then they will be an incredible, great Kalyānamitra. Okay, so here comes the however. However, in this period of the decline of the Dharma, Kalyānamitras with complete virtues are rare to find. And moreover, studying and practicing the Buddha Dharma is also not possible without good masters and friends. So we have to lower our expectations and look for other options, right? So what does Master Yinshun means by lowering our expectation of Kalyānamitras? And he cites from the sūtras, which says, if a person possesses an eighth of these virtues, these 5, and in total, a bag of virtues, 1/8 of these virtues, one can also approach them, meaning then they qualify. 1/8, just 1/8, they qualify. And the Nirvana Sutra talks about the 4 dependencies, 4 types of masters, teachers, on which a person can depend. And the first type of master, even if they have not eradicated afflictions and realized the true essence, can already clearly understand at least 1/16, like a 16th, 1/16 of that bag of virtues, or the meaning of the Buddha nature, right? So, boy, have they really lowered the expectation. And that is being pragmatic, right? We are, after all, in this period. And what is this period that's called? And it says here, in summary, it is difficult to find Kalyānamitras in the period of the decline of the Dharma. So, if in the practice and understanding of the Buddha Dharma, there is someone with a quality that surpasses one's own, there's nothing to prevent one from approaching that person according to the Dharma. So basically, in this time and age, to meet someone who knows correctly, acts accordingly, speaks eloquently, everything according to the Dharma, is very difficult. So if someone having 1/6 or like an eighth, a 16th, not 6th, 16th, an eighth of the virtues, then that person qualifies. Boy. Whew. Not easy. Okay, continuing. Stanza 21. Observe their virtues and not their faults. Follow their guidance and never disobey them. The Buddha said that noble and complete conduct the disciples must respect. This is stanza 21. And I think here I skipped over something. A supplemental material of the 4 types of masters. So Master Yinshun only mentioned the first type. Someone who is dedicated, yet is still ordinary in the sense that not having reached liberation, like the first fruition or the first level of bodhisattva. Okay, and then the second type would be a liberated one. So it's first fruition, second fruition. That will be the second type. Third type will be the third fruition. The first fruition, second fruition will be the second type. The third type of masters will be the third fruition, and the fourth type is the fourth fruition, which is arhat, someone who has realized arhat. Right? So these are the 4 types of masters. And let's continue with the explanation of stanza 21. Whether they are Kalyānamitras, good advisors, with complete virtues or with few virtues, if we cannot approach them according to the Dharma, we will not be able to obtain the virtues that should be achieved. Okay, so let's take, for example, someone who is just a beginner, but aims really high in their practice. They are perfectionist, and then they decided to embark on this search to find the perfect teacher. Until I find the perfect teacher, I shall not commit to the Dharma. I shall not start my practice. I shall not believe in anybody until I find the perfect teacher. Well, usually perfect teachers are dead. In this world, in this period of the decline of the Dharma, we should be pragmatic and learn with teacher that we at least observe we have certain alignment with, connection, affinity. If there's sufficient affinity and you understand their language and then their way of expressing themselves, and that helps you understand the Dharma and the practice, you should start. And then you feel comfortable with the teacher's behavior, the way they treat people. Some people like very, very Spartan, ascetic teachers. Very, very strict. Very, very, they don't smile. Some people like that kind of teacher. Especially Asians love the serious teachers. And I mean Asians that grew up in Asia. Most of you that are listening to English that are Asians are very, very westernized already. You pretty much spend most of your time in the free West, right? So like a lot of people in the West, they like a teacher that is very, very stern, very does not even smile, never shows their teeth like this. And they don't even smile when they take a picture. Oh, they don't even take pictures, some of them. And then they like those teachers, and they're very ascetic. Well, anyways. And some people like it more, that are approachable, friendly, easy to absorb their teachings. That makes the teachings accessible, right? So you need to find out what kind of teacher is meant for you. Therefore, concerning Kalyānamitras, we have to observe their virtues and not observe their faults, because they are humans too. And especially if they belong to the first type of teacher, which is still not liberated. And in the case of Sravakas, not only not liberated, and also with a lot of habitual tendencies, like their own habits, whether it's cultural, regional, whatever, then it can bother you. And if you spend all your time identifying things that you don't like about that person, you will never be able to learn their virtues and consult them. And when you don't have a teacher, it's very difficult to be humble. And that's why all the most perfectionist, smartest, high-aiming practitioners, they always say the same thing. Oh, it's so difficult to find a teacher. I can never find a teacher that I can learn with. Never, ever. So when we hear and receive the instructions of a Kalyānamitra, once you decide that should be your Kalyānamitra, or learn through their conduct and the way they deal with people and situations, it is enough that they have one quality superior to ours for us to observe their quality, learn it, and cultivate it. So this is aiming really, really pragmatically and low. If the person who you deem to be your teacher has one quality superior to yours, at least that's enough to start with. Learn that quality, and then teachers, Kalyānamitras, are not for life. I mean, for life in the sense that you are grateful to them for life. But once you learn with the teacher and learn enough, you can move on and then learn with other teachers. In this way, even if it is a Kalyānamitra with few virtues, we can still receive the benefits of the Dharma. Okay, so here is talking about practitioner. One considers one a good student who wants to learn. So that's the right attitude towards a Kalyānamitra. But imagine a Kalyānamitra when you go to the Kalyānamitra and says, teacher, I have learned so many years. I'm so grateful to you. Now I would like to learn something else. And then you're informing your teacher that you want to learn with another teacher. And the teacher said, no, you cannot. You are bound to me for life. The thing is sealed in blood. You cannot move on. Well, I don't think that's a very good manifestation of a good Kalyānamitra. A good advisor is someone who wishes the student to surpass their own level. Listen to this. A true Kalyānamitra will always want their students to surpass them. At least that's one of my definitions of a good teacher. On the other hand, if we do not observe the virtues, focusing and worrying only about the faults of the Kalyānamitras, thinking, this is wrong, that is not good enough, he doesn't know enough, I know more than him, I can do more, I can practice more than him, then even if we find great Kalyānamitras with complete virtues, we will not have the slightest benefit. Because we would be blind to the manifestations of good Dharma because of our arrogance. Arrogance is the mother of all evil in the learning that impedes, obstruct our learning of the Dharma. Arrogance. Arrogance got to be there, up there, number one, in as far as our practice is concerned. For even being Kalyānamitras with complete virtues, they also cannot be perfect in everything without any defect, unless they are Buddhas already. They are attained perfect enlightenment, perfect awakening, right? If they're still liberated of first fruition, second, third, or even arhats, or even bodhisattvas of different levels, they still have their own defects. Though small, but if you put a magnifying glass to that defect, you will see a great defect. And you will not humble yourself to learn from him, her, or them. Therefore, when we approach a Kalyānamitra, each of us must always remember, what did I come here for? Ask yourself the question, why am I here? Why am I listening to him or her? Why am I attending the lectures, being in the ceremonies? Why am I with this person, this good advisor, this member of the Sangha? Was it not to seek the masters' faults, but to learn from their good qualities? Obviously, you're there because you saw some good qualities and you wanted to learn these good qualities. Being able to act this way, then everywhere there will be masters we can approach, and everywhere we can obtain benefits. Confucius says, in a group of three people, there will certainly be someone to teach me or to learn from. Also has this meaning. So when we're learning with the Kalyanamitra, we need to humble ourselves and ask questions. Or when we don't even know what to ask, questions to ask, we listen carefully. We take notes. We jot things down. And then we observe, reflect, and put into practice. And when we know what questions to ask, we ask the questions and see if we can get the answers that help us understand the material, right? So there is a process to this. It is very important, that relationship. The truth is, the Buddha achieved Buddhahood 2,500 years ago in ancient India. And he left his teachings with the Sangha, the monastic community. And the transmission has gone from generation to generation uninterrupted within the Sangha and also to the four assemblies, even to the lay people. And that transmission, learning from somebody and then passing it on, has always been how the Buddha's teaching was able to last till this point. So the right attitude to receive the teaching, to view the people passing on the teachings, the Dharma, is very important. That right attitude, not falling into conceit, allowing arrogance to blind us, will help us receive the teaching and then continue our practice, lifetime after lifetime. When approaching a Kalyanamitra, in summary, we must follow the Master's guidance, making them happy, and never disobey their instructions. And even if the Master reprimand us, scold us, we should accept without letting a mind of resentment or anger arise. Oh, that's difficult. I don't know how many times I've been corrected by my own teachers that first is always like this. At the beginning, they correct and go, and you're such a beginner, then you go, what did I do wrong? I don't see anything wrong, in the mind. You never say it. And then as you practice more and more, you're more mindful of your own actions, body, speech, and mind. Then as soon as they correct you, then you go, oh, okay. But that moment, that thought, that momentary thought of enmity, resentment, anger, those kind of thoughts, we have to be very, very careful. And here it warns us of not feeling resentment, anger, and goes on to say, how can we make the Master happy? Okay, so it lists three things. By making offerings of various types of material resources according to one's own conditions, basically sustaining the livelihood of the teachers. 2, by serving the Master, providing service. The number 1 has to do with some material resources. Number 2 has to do with your time. Like maybe taking your teacher to see the doctor, to do things, to run some errands, even mundane errands. But most importantly, Even if you don't have enough time to do number one or two, or the resources, but number three is very important. When you ask someone to be your teacher, that teacher, if it's a true teacher, would care very much if you are practicing according to the guidance and instructions. And this I cannot emphasize even more. Because as a Sangha member, when we are teaching the Dharma, it makes us so happy when people are practicing according to the instructions, to the guidance that we have given. And then it makes this transmission much more smooth, and then it makes the work much more sustainable, less tiring, more pleasant for the one who teaches, and of course for the one who receives the teaching with an open mind to the guidance and instructions. This is great. In the Buddha Dharma, respecting when approaching a Kalyānamitra is the perfect manifestation of the spirit of respect for the masters and reverence for the path to awakening. And what if the master requests that you do something that is not according to the Dharma, that violates the Vinaya, the precept? Of course, you should not obey the request, but you should, whenever you can, explain delicately why you cannot fulfill such request, especially when it goes against your precept, your monastic precept or your lay precept. And this is why I have to remind you of practicing the Dharma without idolizing the teacher. You are not trying to put your teacher, the guru, on a pedestal, up there, up high. No, you're trying to learn where it's still visible. You're trying to see if they apply the teachings to their everyday life. You are not trying to follow anybody in blind faith. Blind faith, it's counterproductive to the Buddhist practice. We never practice with blind faith. We practice with our eyes open, and if you're nearsighted, put on your glasses so that your eyes are focused. You are watching, you're understanding, and you are following the example of your teacher. So do not obey any requests that go against the Dharma or the Vinaya. In learning and practicing the Buddha Dharma, if we cannot respect the master according to the Dharma, obtaining the desired virtues of the Buddha Dharma will be entirely impossible. So basically, this is saying that if you identify someone as a teacher, and then you ask this teacher for instructions and guidance, you need to respect that person. And if you don't respect that person, you will not be able to obtain the desired virtues of the Buddha Dharma. Impossible. Now, just like the paragraph before, now if the teacher is asking you something that is wrong, that goes against the Dharma and Vinaya, then that person no longer qualifies as your teacher. You need to keep your safe distance from such a person, right? And so we're not talking about that kind of person. We're talking about the teacher that fulfill their role very well, but you, because of your arrogance, your self-conceit, you cannot listen to their instructions and guidance with an open mind, with humility. So it is said in the sutra, if in relation to the master, one holds rancor and contempt, or is unyielding and malicious, or with anger and aversion, it is impossible to attain any merits. So think about it. And then this is talking about the spiritual teachers. We're not talking about mundane, like mundane knowledge. How often we go to school, the teacher or the professor opens up a textbook and starts reading the stuff, not explaining anything, telling you to do homework, tell you to buy his book, and then you are like in there, you are like, why am I here? Oh, I just need the credit for this course, right? And then you are feeling rancor, contempt, and you are unyielding and malicious, and you go, oh, I wish this person goes away, and then you're feeling anger and aversion. Well, if you feel like that with a mundane teacher of mundane knowledge, you will not learn much. You probably skip all the classes. And I'm sure some of you have done so. But in the case of spiritual teacher, you cannot. You need the transmission. The transmission meaning the eyes of the teacher. The eyes of the teacher is watching over you. It's observing you, helping you, correcting your wrongs, giving you instructions, giving you prescription to your and curing you of your disease, of your problems. Okay, continuing. On one occasion, the Tathagata praised the virtues of Kalyānamitras, and Ananda said, the one who is called Kalyānamitra is half of the noble conduct. Half, huh? So he's saying that having encountered a Kalyānamitra and you ask for teaching and the person commits to teaching you, then it's half of the noble conduct of your practice, right? And guess what the Buddha answered? Do not say that, Ananda. The one who is called a Kalyānamitra is the noble, immaculate, pure, and complete conduct. Wow. Now, Ananda meant that the one who approaches a Kalyānamitra would have already realized half of the noble and pure conduct. But the Buddha meant that the one who approaches a Kalyānamitra would have fully realized the noble and pure conduct. See how much the Buddha values Kalyānamitras? So, of course, the Buddha is pointing out Kalyānamitras that are complete, perfect in every sense, with all the 5 virtues that we mentioned before. Such teachers basically would be a Buddha send. Such a teacher will be so responsible, so caring, so committed to teaching you, correcting you, helping you, that your practice would be made so much easier. And then if there's trust, if there's so much respect of the teacher towards the student towards the teacher, and the teacher feeling the responsibility and then combined together, fully realize the noble and pure conduct. Therefore, disciples must respect and make offerings to Kalyānamitras. The virtues of approaching Kalyānamitras are explained in detail in the Avatamsaka Sutra and others. Okay, so to hear the Dharma and then to find the right teacher. And now let's move on to the next section. The requirements of hearing the Dharma in order to enter the path. It is to rid yourself of the 8 difficulties. Okay, so stanza 22. Rid yourself of the suffering in the 3 evil destinies. Do not be reborn in the longevity heavens. Be born in the era of a Buddha in the central region, with complete faculties and free from wrong views. So the ancients said, Kalyānamitras are difficult to find. The Buddha Dharma is rare to hear. When encountering good opportunities, as rare as these, do not consider them easy to obtain. It should be known that to be able to hear the Buddha Dharma, it is necessary to rid oneself of the 8 difficulties. So this is when the Master Yinshun is trying to tell us how lucky, how fortunate we are as Buddhist disciples, practitioners, in this period of the decline of the Dharma. Because many people or many beings encounter the 8 difficulties, whereas us, you and I, in order to be in this position right now, today, having listened to the explanation of chapter 1, the taking of the triple gem, taking refuge in the triple gem and revering the triple gem and being able to hear the Dharma and be learning with a teacher, we have put the 8 difficulties behind, at least momentarily. So what are the 8 difficulties? Number 1, firstly, secondly, and thirdly, there are 3. It is necessary to rid oneself of the realms. Not being in hell realm, animal realm, or hungry ghost realm. That is, the retributions of suffering in the 3 evil destinies. So someone says, why, if one is reborn in the hell realm, can they listen to the Dharma? Difficult. In order for hell beings to hear the Dharma, first, they need a lot of practitioners, human practitioners, get together, practice, focusing their mental energy to create this space with the help of the triple gem, so that the hell beings can leave their place of retribution, hells, and come to a space where they can have some food, drink, and hear the Dharma. Very, very difficult. There are 18 hells, different levels, and the hells, meaning that one, when it's there suffering the consequences from evil acts of causing harm to beings in the past, they're in constant suffering. When the mind and the notion of a transformation body is suffering and it's in pain, it's very difficult to hear and capture or arouse thoughts of good, to hear the Dharma. No. Very difficult. And then there's one hell. It's called the Avicii hell. It's called the uninterrupted hell, meaning hell where the suffering never stops. It's constant. Even less possibility. And then how about animal? Some people say, yeah, but look at the animal. The animal, my pet, my dog, my cat, the chicken I raise that I don't kill, the animals roaming freely in the wilderness, or as pets, they are also in that situation where they cannot have access to the Dharma. Why? Because of the limitation in their mental capacity. That is part of their consequence, their vipaka, karma and vipaka. Karma meaning actions and consequence. Due to their consequences from their evil acts in the past lives, they are reborn as animals, and in an animal realm, their mental capacity, it's not enough for them to process the Dharma, to put it into practice. And hungry ghosts are always hungry, so even less likely, or just as likely as animals, always looking for food, an insatiable need to eat and drink, and a lot of things that they cannot consume. Right? So these are the suffering in the three evil destinies that makes it impossible. It is a difficulty. These are three difficulties in which beings cannot have access to the Dharma, even if someone were to teach it. So if reborn in these three evil destinies, there will be no opportunity to hear the Dharma. Although the powerful ghost kings, dragon kings, etc., also come to hear the Dharma, such opportunities are very few, and moreover, they cannot become monastics, receive precepts, take refuge, and follow the Buddha in practice. Okay, so that's their limitation. Fourthly, it is necessary not to be reborn in the longevity heavens. Okay, so what are the definition of longevity heavens? So in the formless sphere, there are the four heavens: infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and neither perception nor non-perception. Okay, these are the four longevity heavens in the formless sphere. Now, in the form sphere, there is the heaven of non-thought. Okay, so all these heavens have extremely long lifespans. For example, the lifespan in the heaven of neither perception nor non-perception is 80,000 great kalpas, cosmic periods. One kalpa, it's one Big Bang. This is talking about 80,000 Big Bangs. One expansion and contraction of the material universe. In all these heavens, there is no opportunity to hear the Dharma. According to the chapter of the 8 difficulties in the Ekotirika Agama or Ekotara Agama, although all who are reborn in the heavens are called longevity devas, and rarely will they hear and practice the Dharma. Therefore, do not be reborn in the heavens above, and do not fall into the 3 evil destinies below. Okay, so I noticed something here that it lists the formless sphere and also lists the form sphere, but it did not list the desire sphere heavens. But desire sphere heavens are also very long. Yeah. The shortest lifespan is 1 kalpa. And then being reborn in any of these heavens, the notion of impermanence, it's so undetectable. It is not conducive towards practice. Okay. And now you notice that in the form sphere, it does not list the jhanas, the 4 jhana states. Only list the heaven of non-thought, okay, as being part of the longevity heavens. The jhanas, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th jhana, it's possible for a practitioner in human form, once entered into the liberation, be able to reborn in those heavens. And they can continue and enter nirvana from those states. Okay. So now this is very important to know. Only by having a human body is it possible to encounter the rare Buddha Dharma. All the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, they attain Buddhahood in the human realm. And then please do not misunderstand human realm as looking like us. Humans, terrestrial humans. No. Human realm refers to human realm in all the worlds. Humans with 5 aggregates: form, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness. Having a material body with a functioning mind of that level, of a human level. So human realm, that's what it means. And only in the human body it is possible to encounter the rare Buddha Dharma, and I am expanding into other sutras that says, and only possible to attain Buddhahood in the human realm. So human realm is so important. And the importance of human realm will be covered like in detail in chapter 3, when we talk about the Dharma common to the 5 vehicles. Okay. However, upon obtaining human rebirth, it is still necessary, 5thly, to be born in the era of Buddha. That is, in the period when a Buddha comes into the world, or while the Buddha Dharma remains in the world. So number 5, this difficulty is referring to be reborn outside of an era of a Buddha. And by era of the Buddha, and every Buddha is different in the spans of their time, start counting from their time of perfect enlightenment and then they're teaching the Dharma and the end of the Dharma, the decline and the end of the Dharma. So in the Buddha Shakyamuni's case is 500 years of the right Dharma, 1,000 years of the semblance of the Dharma, appearance of the Dharma, and then 10,000 years of the decline of the Dharma, right? That would be Buddha Shakyamuni's case. He predicted already to us when the end of the Dharma will be coming. We are still 9,000 years. We still have 9,000 years left. So it's referring to that. If you're born outside of the period of a Buddha, then tough luck. No access to the Buddha, nor his teachings, nor there will be a transmission of the Sangha. Right? So, for example, if reborn before the appearance of a Buddha in the world, or after the decline and extinction of the Buddha Dharma, then even having a human body, there will still be no opportunity to hear the Dharma and practice it. Okay. Continuing. Sixthly, it is still necessary to be born in the central region. Okay. 中国, central region, where there's Dharma. The central region is named in contrast to the peripheral regions. All places where there is a Buddha or Sangha spreading the Buddha Dharma are central regions. Otherwise, they are peripheral regions. If reborn and grown in peripheral regions where there is no Buddha Dharma, then even if it's in the same era as the Buddha, there will still be no opportunity to hear the Dharma and practice it. So to be reborn in the right place. So era of Buddha is the right time, and born in the central region is a right place as far as geography, location. Seventhly, it is still necessary to have the 6 faculties complete. Eyes, ear, nose, tongue, body, skin, and a healthy mental consciousness, a healthy mind. The 6 faculties. For example, if one is blind, then one cannot read the Dharma. If one were deaf, cannot hear the Dharma. If one is mute, one can hear not so well, but cannot communicate the Dharma. If one has a mind so disturbed or obscured that it cannot comprehend facts and concepts, then even if born in the era of a Buddha and in a central region, it would still be in vain. My goodness, in order to be reborn with the 6 faculties complete, if you read the Sutra on Cause and Effect that I have translated into English, and then Sutra on the Karma and Consequence, you will be surprised. Of all the actions that can lead to not having faculties complete, healthy, the fact that we are blessed. We have merits. We have done some things right. We have abided by precepts in past lives, in some lives, in order to deserve what we deserve now. If you have a human form, yet you have deficiencies in your faculties, then you will have difficulties in learning the Dharma too. Even fulfilling all the other 6 overcoming the other six difficulties. And the seventh one, it's here and now, what you need to have access to the Dharma. Eighthly, even if one does not have the obstacles mentioned above, if raised in a family with wrong views, or if grown, educated in a non-Buddhist community or family, or if one has distorted and wrong views, and over time makes them a habit, then there will also be no affinity with the Buddha Dharma. Therefore, it is said, the eighthly, it is to be free from wrong views, freeing yourself from wrong views. So here, Master Yinshun explains that even if you're raised in a family with wrong views, but you may not be aligned, you may not have affinity, you may have a right view that you cling on to internally, and you do not let anybody, anything, any organization brainwash you. And you just waiting your time to become adult, and then you can move out of a house and you can make your own decisions. That's why people, even when they grow up in family with wrong views, in non-Buddhist communities or families, or even distorted visions, but after they leave, they can make their own choices. Now, there's something that's not mentioned. I have seen people born into Buddhist families, born into family of right view, yet due to their past distorted wrong views in past lives, they have no affinity with the Buddha Dharma either. In fact, they hate, they just reject altogether Buddha Dharma, even though their parents, their siblings, their family, their community are very good practitioners. So there's the mixed bag of all these different things of human beings. So the eighth difficulty has to do with wrong views. And even be reborn in a family that allows you to choose freely, and then you choose to access the Buddha Dharma, but you go into the cults that claim to be the right Dharma, but it's not the right Dharma. It's about idolatry. It's about guruism. It's about, wow, the one. And then your life will be wasted. And that is also part of the eighth difficulty. So these eight are generally called the eight difficulties and are impediments to studying Buddhism, studying, practicing the Buddha Dharma. According to Sanskrit, okay, the eight difficulty should be translated as eight inopportune conditions. Okay, that is eight situations where there is no opportunity and conditions to learn and practice the Buddha Dharma. Thus, how happy and fortunate, how lucky, how blessed are we not to find ourselves in these eight difficulties. Oh my goodness, you should pat yourself in the shoulder, you should applaud, you should thank your practice in past lives and all the beings that helped you get here now, because you are not immersed in the eight difficulties and being able to practice and have access to the right Dharma. Okay, let us transfer merits. And let's transfer merits towards all beings so that they may have the chance to enter the path and avoid the 8 difficulties and not being able to access the Dharma, and that they may have the opportunity to access the Buddha Dharma. Transference of merits. I wish to eradicate the 3 obstructions and all defilements. I wish to attain wisdom and true understanding. I wish that all calamities and obstacles be universally extinguished. I shall constantly practice the Bodhisattva path, life after life. Namo Pho.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye, sư
Bye.
phụ.
Everyone.
Bye
Bye.
to the deer.
Here.